And welcome back to Open Studio. Okay, I've done my homework. I have my coffee. I'm ready to go. The back here, I was having an issue with, what I was actually seeing here. All these, what's going on right behind the bike because of the sidecar. And I did a bunch of research and I figured it out, and it's unusual, which is why I'm having a hard time seeing it. So what's going on here on the J-type early 1900s sidecars? They look like little boats, essentially. You can't see it. I should have grabbed a picture that I could have plugged in, but I did not, but that's okay. So the front looks like a boat, and it comes up, and then what happens is it just kind of has the cutout for the inside of the sidecar where you sit. There's also these large armrests on the side and a large back. So what I was having a hard time with my reference photo was trying to figure out what I was seeing and where that was going. What I missed was, so this line here that shows the front of the sidecar, this actually continues up all the way through here, and then it does the cutout right here. From there, what I'm looking at back here, this area here, that background, that little line right there that I thought was a brace inside is technically, it's the top sill of the sidecar. What's above that is that big armrest. What made it so hard to figure out was that all the transition lines, like where the edges are, where the edge of that cutout is inside the sidecar and where the top of the armrest is and all those things, they're all hidden behind something. Every single line is hidden behind something. So all you see is the color of the actual object, which is why I was having a hard time trying to figure it out. But I did it, so we're good. So what we're going to do, instead of moving on and keep working on the tank right now, I'm going to solve that problem. I'm going to take care of that right now so I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the painting. In order to do that, what I have to do is I have to kind of match this patina to get that started, and this is a dark brown, so it's really, really easy to fix that or continue that. I can actually use that base, but this is this area right in here between the top of the sidecar here where it stops and then over, that's what I got to kind of put in. So what we're going to do is, I think what I'll do to make my life easy is to cut out a template. Yeah, I am. And the reason why I was hesitating, because sometimes it's easier in a tiny little instance, because I just have to weave this color here in between all these little, bits and pieces. So sometimes it's easier to just paint it, I might do with a paintbrush. Yeah, let's paint it with a paintbrush. Again, it's a back and forth because the areas aren't very big. I'll have to touch them up with the airbrush, but yeah, all right. And where that's going to go, and I'll draw that with a pencil first once I get my gloves on, so I don't put my fingers on this. Oh, and welcome to episode 51. And look at that, I actually have the mic going this time. Ugh. Yeah, that was fun. It's fun finishing the video and then plugging it into the editing software and seeing no audio. All right. All right, so what's going on here is it cuts across here. So it's this line right here, which might be, do I want to grab a template for this? I think I do. Let's see if I have my big, no, I don't think I have my big template here. Oh, I do. This is awesome. Okay. So again, this is the bird template by Radu Vero and Art Tool, Freehand Shields. So these templates are great for airbrushing, but they're also great for drawing too. You just gotta be a little bit more careful with them because they're a lot thinner than a draftsman's template. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of find the angle that runs across the front of the sidecar. I'm just gonna continue that curve. And this is nice because then I don't have to, kind of make up a curve and hope it's right. This is already like preset for me, and I can bend that back and see if I'm in the right spot, and I think I am. Yeah, because that goes right up there. I was off, and hopefully this pencil is soft enough to see. There we go. Yeah, perfect. So that gives me that line. Now I know where to paint. Essentially, this whole section is painted. This, these have a little bit, and these two are painted as well. And then the back is easy. It's just I gotta paint it in brown. That was the most important one. All right, so yeah, I think I'll paint it in with a paintbrush and then kind of touch it up with an airbrush. Sorry, I dropped my folder with all the cutouts. It's all over the floor. We'll deal with that later. So again, welcome to episode 51. It's actually episode 50 because of my misnumbering halfway through this series, but still, we are rolling up on, you guys have been hanging in there for a year on this, and I truly appreciate it. I need to get this painting done. There's a couple big shows coming up, and this is a painting that I would like to have in either one of the shows. So we really got to kind of burn to kind of finish this. For you guys, it's not going to matter because you're going to see an episode every week anyway, whether it's done or not. Oh, I should have turned on the palette cam. I don't know the palette cam going. Bummer. Okay, I'll get it for the next episode. It would just take a few minutes to set it up, and I don't want to take that time of the video just setting up the camera. But we will have it for the next one. What I'm doing is I'm mixing that same base tone brown color that I have mixed up here from the very beginning. And I added a little bit of white to that, so I get this kind of base tan color, and that's what I'm going to do to kind of lock all this in. It certainly doesn't have to be like spot on. In fact, this is a little bit too white because it's a small area, and B, I'm going to put all that modeling on top. There, it's much better. And so again, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I may luck out with not even having to do any airbrushing on these sections. We'll see. Yeah, this painting, out of the 5 that I've started with the HD stencils, this one by far is the most involved, and I didn't expect that. I had one that I had done of a newer bike, and that was pretty involved. There was a lot going on with that, a lot of chrome, a lot of fun stuff. It's called Home of the Free, and I thought that was going to be the most involved painting out of the series. I'm pleasantly shocked, or surprised at least, that this one really is the one that has taken the most time. Yeah, we're going to luck out. I don't think I'm going to have to airbrush much of this at all. The reason why I'm kind of making a big deal about the airbrushing, and I noticed I fixed this one and I didn't airbrush on that one either, is sometimes it just takes more time to set things up and to mix the color. And for areas this small, you're literally mixing up all that paint, spraying it for a second, and then it's done. It's gone. So it's a lot of work for not a lot of, well, it has a big impact, but it's not, it's not like you're spraying the whole thing. I did this repair too without the airbrush. Interesting. It's going to be too bright, but that's okay. We'll mix it down. There we go. Yeah, so this painting by far is going to be the most involved, which also makes it the most valuable dollar-wise. So this one will command the highest price of the group. There is another, I have one more after this that I've already started, and I've talked about it. It's a pair of old Ford Model Ts, and they're beautiful. I saw them at a car show, it was a car show. I was going to say it was a cruise day, cruise night thing, but it wasn't. It was a car show, outdoor, but still. And that one's pretty involved. There's a lot going on with that one too, because I'm dealing with 2 cars and spoke. There's oil on this from my finger. That's a bummer. I could tell because when I start painting, it resists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my loss here. I'm going to remove that wet paint just by touching it with my glove. So I'm going to kind of get as much of that wet paint off till it's dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glove and I'm just going to rub whatever fingerprint oil is there. And that right there, what happened there with I'm going to get you guys a little closer because we can do that. What happened right there is the big reason why I wear gloves. The fingerprint oil does a great job at resisting paint, which stinks. Not only does it stink just because you're trying to paint something and it's not sticking, it's just pooling up. but it's a compromise in the painting too. The paint isn't sticking there, so there is a chance that somewhere down the road that oil will allow the paint to separate from the canvas for real, and then you have a problem. On a painting like this, there's so much going on, and there's so many layers, and fingerprint oil isn't extremely aggressive, that it just usually kind of becomes a layer of the painting, and then that's it. It's just in there forever. I've never had a painting to have a fault because of that, but in automotive work, you see it all the time, where oil and grease and things like that get under the paint job, and then they become a problem down the road. Now, of course, a car takes a lot more abuse than a painting does on a wall, but still, why do it if you're not going to really do the best you can? So you can see now that this paint is going on nice and smooth because I have removed my little oily fingerprint off of there, and we're good to go. Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get away with not really having to do too much airbrushing on this. I might put it on the list of things to do when I'm like working on the tank, to come up here and just kind of hit it with some of the browns. Of course, I've talked about this before too. The danger for me with that is by putting something off until later, there's a chance that I'll forget about it and it'll sit there throughout the whole painting. This I don't think is going to be the issue though with these little pieces. I think I'll remember to come up here and just give them a little bit of hit of the brown, the darker brown, and that'll create this modeling that's going on down here. Yeah. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to hit these other ones too. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I did these repairs early on, these two right here and here. And I never came back up with the airbrush and did anything on them. So they do look different than everything else. So I really got to make sure that I put it on my list of things to do, is to come back in here and fix these, or finish them really. So what I'm also doing is, so these other repairs that I did earlier, like this one here, I'm doing the same. I'm touching all of them basically, so that way they're all the same, so that I can push them all the same. That way one doesn't look totally different than another. So I'll do that a lot. If I'm, repairing one section, even one little section, I'll go back to all the areas around them and do the same technique. And then that just makes it look like they were all done at the same time. There's no variation there that might otherwise be there. So I was a little bit too aggressive there with the sideways paintbrush, but that's okay. I'll fix that too. I think that's good. I think that's in a good spot. So now you can see that continuous passage. And again, what happens is this line comes up here, about here in the handlebar, it stops and then curls down like this. So it's like an arc, and that's where the front, essentially where the dashboard would be on the sidecar if it had one, but it's the front edge of that opening, and it literally goes right behind everything right here, or right here. So that's why I was missing it. I couldn't figure out, I couldn't see the brake anywhere, and I didn't know what was going on there. Again, it took just kind of looking at the original photo that I have of this bike. I do have a couple angles of it, and then just going online and looking up the the old 1900s J-type Harley with the sidecar, and eventually I was able to kind of piece together from all that information what was really going on there. So that's a good example right there of, half of it was just painting what you see. If you can't understand it, if you're trying to go for photorealistic or realism in general, you just paint what the reference photo is telling you to paint. Sometimes that doesn't work though, because in this reference photo there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. There are people, there's another bike in the background, there's a bulletin board of some sort. There's a lot going on back there, and I was having a difficult time telling what was part of this bike and what was part of the background. So it involved letting my brain kind of take over a little bit, which for a lot of paintings like this I try not to, because my brain does not what it's supposed to do sometimes. All right, that's the first part. Again, I'm going to finish modeling these when I get brown in the brush. I'm not going to mix up a brown just to do that. Although we're going to work on the tank as soon as we're done fixing these couple issues, so that's good. That means I can jump right back into that section. You'll probably see that in the next episode. All right, so the next one is this the armrest. It's a dark brown leather armrest, and that's right behind here. It basically fills up these areas, all of these areas right here that I have gray. And again, it was weird. I couldn't figure it out because the top edge of the armrest is literally right behind this handlebar like this. If this handlebar was moved, or if the front wheel was turned just a little bit and this handlebar was higher, I would have been able to see that edge and figure it out. But essentially, it's just a brown field. Okay, so for this one, this is too big of an area to do with the paintbrush. It would just come out really streaky and modelly right there. So I'm gonna do this with the airbrush. So I grab another template here. I'm gonna do this right off the edge so you can see. Again, the idea is to let you guys see everything. Do I have this cut out somewhere? No, I don't. I do, but I don't, because I have the top cut off and the bottom. So I want to leave this part covered up here. And you can see what I'm talking about in the reference photo. There's a dude standing here. I didn't know if what was going on down here was the bottom of that dude. You know, he had dark pants on or something. There's all this bulletin board stuff going on in the background. And so there's a lot going on back there. But this right here, my friends, is what we want. And the same thing with the cable here. I don't have to really worry about it. I'm going to cut it out and leave it. But there's going to be all kinds of brown underspray all over it when I paint this, which is totally okay. I don't care because, again, I'm going to paint that in after I've got the bike done anyway. So it goes over everything else. So I don't care about, I don't have to keep it super clean. Not like I do like the shifter knob though. Shifter knob's close enough to the edge that it might get some overspray if I'm not careful. So it's everything down to here, which this stuff here, like I said, I thought this was a brace inside the sidecar. It's actually the rolled top edge of the sidecar. I don't know what this thing is here. Oh, I know what this is. This is the other armrest. It's the beginning of the other armrest. Okay, so we're going to leave that there too. Good. And all that's dark brown. So those areas are a little bit bigger. The other thing I got to do, oh no, right, you can see it. You can see the bottom inside of the sidecar, the inside wall of the sidecar down here. So that is right on the shifter. So we got to make sure we don't get any paint on that. Again, if I do, it's not a huge deal. I can just really quickly fix it. But this is why we do the background first, because if I had all this done and I did the shifter, I'd be done instead of having to fix the shifter after because I got overspray on it because I'm painting something behind it like that. Oh, I hope I was on camera there. Sorry if I was not. All right, so that's all we need for that. So for this, I'm going to use the original brown color, the brown color I just had for the, for the bike. I'll use that as the base tone for this. So line this up. It should line up really well because, again, HD stencil and all that fun stuff. Make sure this is in the right angle. So I'm using, it's off the camera, but I'm using the front edge of the sidecar as a kind of a marker to line this up. And then over here, it's really easy. I have the shifter and the cable and the gauge here and everything. So I know where I'm going there, but it's just making sure it's lined up. All right, need a jumbo magnet for this. We'll put it on the top side and I'll hold down the rest of it. So that'll be good. All right, brown, 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 brown. I'm going to use, excuse me. I got to get my other Eclipse CS back up and running. So the Eclipse CS, the Iwata Eclipse CS, essentially this brush here. Pull it out. This brush here. This I really need another one, a new one. This one here, I have a 0.5 millimeter needle and nozzle in it. It's huge. So this will spray metallic paint, but it still has a gravity cup, a little cup on the top. So it makes it just a real efficient brush for spraying really super heavy material. I need the regular version of this. It comes with a 0.35 millimeter nozzle, which is not quite, it's pushing almost half the size of what this is set up as. And that's great for just what I'm about to do now. I want an opaque brown to cover that, and the CS would be perfect for that. In its place, I'm going to be using a 0.3, which is a little bit smaller brush than that. So it has a 0.3 millimeter needle and nozzle. This is a brush that will do some pretty amazing detail, but will also paint a thicker paint. So I use this one, the 0.3, a lot for when I'm trying to paint detail areas in with white. The 0.3 millimeter brush really handles white very well. All right, and mix up this. I love my little Vortex paint mixer. There is a Tech Tuesday on this, so you can go back and watch it. And I know I just committed one of Adam Savage's cardinal sins for YouTubers, and that is telling you guys to go back and watch another video that I've already done. But there it is. All right, so the brown, again, this is the color. It's the dark rusty brown that I've used for most of this, or all of this really, which is nice. And then I'm going to add a little bit of reducer to this because this is full on, straight out of the bottle essentially. I'm going to add some reducer to this. And again, my go-to reducer with any color for Createx is 4011, or any color from Createx. And then I mix a little bit of 4050 UVLS clear in it. So it's 1 part clear to 10 parts reducer. That's my usual go-to reducer across the board for most of the colors. The only colors that I don't do that with is the opaque line. And I know I sound like a broken record with that stuff, but for every time that I get a question, I will continue to repeat it, and that's the big question. How much do I reduce stuff with, and what do I reduce it with, and why do I reduce it that way? All right, the brown or the tan that's the background is going to act as a nice base for this. So really what I'm doing is I'm just taking that tan and let's try that again. I'm taking that gray color and I'm just kind of tinting it with the brown color because it is really dark too. It's in here. There we go. Again, really, really light layers. This is fairly thin, probably too thin, but that's okay. You know what? We'll bump it up a little bit. So when it's too thin, it's really easy. You just add more paint. So another drop of paint here. Come on. There you are. See how thick this is? And that's a hallmark of the, burnt umber that's in there. It's just burnt umber is a really, really thick, heavy paint. So mix that up. That's better. Okay. Yeah, these really light layers. This is going to make me happy finishing this, finally getting this resolved. I think I'm going to, do I have another magnet that will work on this? Make it a little bit easier. Yeah, we'll use one of these jumbo magnets here. Oh, no, we're not. And that's, my friends, why magnets don't really work well on ampersand board. It's too thick. The attraction from magnet to magnet is way higher than magnet to steel underneath the board. And that is also, my friends, how you break a neodymium magnet. You can either drop them. Like if I drop this one on the concrete floor, it'll probably break. They're very fragile as far as, I'm gonna move this a little bit so you guys are more centered. They're brittle. That's the word I want. I know I'm using my words. These are brittle magnets. They're extremely strong. The reason why they're always coated with nickel is because, or this, this nickel plating, is because they're so fragile. They'll just smash apart. So if I drop it on the concrete, it will probably break something this big. If they snap together really super hard, they will also break. And they're expensive enough that you don't want to do that. This is working out great. Really is working out great. This gray is acting as a great base. It looks like an old leather, kind of an old leather color. And as I'm working on this on episode 51, right now, the Sturgis rally is going on. It's kind of interesting, kind of fun thing. If you're a motorcycle person, you've obviously heard of Sturgis. One of the biggest motorcycle rallies, certainly probably, well, I would imagine it's the biggest in the country. In the US. Daytona is certainly gigantic as well, but it's a blast, and even if you're not into motorcycles, it's an absolutely stunning area of the country to go to. I'm super happy to get this part done. This is like a splinter. It's been nagging at me the whole painting. All right. Next bit, I'm just gonna grab the Micron B here. We're gonna put the black in. So for this, and this will be done. This will really be done. This is pretty smooth, the leather, and that's nice. It's worn in a way that there's not a lot of modeling on it, so I don't have to worry about that. So really all I gotta do is darken it from the bottom up. This bottom area here on the shifter is almost black, so I'm just going to kind of fade up from there. And again, sorry Adam Savage, but if you want to kind of get a feel for how I do these fades, there is a Tech Tuesday on that as well. I'm leaving the top part. I'm not painting that with the black. I'm just going over the bottom in light layers to kind of build up that fade from dark to light. And as Bob Ross would say, that was a happy accident. The fact that I painted that with gray first really made a difference. It's actually a really, really nice color right now. And there it is. There's some touch up to do. I didn't quite get up to the handlebar, but that's easy. The cable obviously, well, actually the cable came out really, really clean. And then the ridge on this too, I gotta work on this. It's a little bit darker. Well, no, it isn't. It's just the bottom of it is really dark. So we'll do that right now. Yeah, I have to redo the shifter knob. Actually, I haven't even painted the shifter knob really. So, all right, we're good. So put the shadow on this little body roll right here. That'll kind of tuck that back in there. I'm not worried about the knob at all, getting paint on that. I gotta do the whole thing. And then the same thing, there's a shadow on the bottom of the other armrest, which is right here. And yes, the other armrest is brown as well, but there is a pretty bright highlight on the top of it, which actually looks kind of gray. So I'm just going to leave that the way it is. I am super happy with that. That's unfortunate. I can fudge this a little bit, this open edge where the grip that I have is not as, it's a little bit smaller than what it really is, and that's why it was indicated by the cutout on the template. I cut out the template right, but the original hand grip was painted a little bit smaller, so that's where that gap came from. So it's pretty easy. I'm just going to kind of push out the bottom of the hand grip with like a darker shadow, and that will reconnect that and we'll be in good shape. Yeah, each one of these little tape wraps is going to be pumped out a little bit, give it a little bit more guts. And I haven't done this clip here. Interesting. All right, I got to finish that too. Welcome to the world of a super complex painting and realizing that there are other parts that you thought were done that aren't. So the bottom of this, okay, good. The bottom of this clip has a dark shadow on it, so we're good there. In fact, this whole thing is a dark There we go. I probably avoided doing that because I knew that was wrong, but yeah. All right, perfect. There we go. I'm going to back you guys up real quick as we try to do every once in a while to show you where we're at. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. It's about... focus that. Hold that up for you. A little bit angle. There we go. So that's it. That's where we're at. All right. Thanks for hanging out for the repair on episode 51. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. If you know someone that might enjoy kind of hanging out with us and watching some paint dry, please share it and let them know. That would be great. We are burning on this, believe it or not. I know it's been a long time, but it is coming together. All right. So for Steve Leahy and Open Studio, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.